What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Shout at the Plate. You got George and Max and Chip coming at you, even though both of their names are Max. We have to tell them apart somehow. All right, so lot to talk about this weekend. First and foremost, Aaron Judge turning down what seems to me to be a very reasonable extension offer. Probably a little generous, honestly, which I never thought I'd say Hal Steinbrenner is generous. But he offered, according to Brian Cashman, he offered 8 years, including this year, $230.5 million. Would have made him the second highest paid position player by AAV for a contract of that length, behind Mike Trout. Do you guys think Judge should have taken it?
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, absolutely. But also it kind of makes him look like shit to take the first offer too, or at least the first offer that's been made public. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of dynamics that go into this. And, George, I think you tweeted or you retweeted somebody yesterday or this morning about the PR that went into Cashman dropping the number and the length of the deal, and how much pressure that puts on Judge and his camp, especially going into the season, right? Like there's a lot that went into that too.
Yeah, I think one of the big limiting factors in this was Judge and his team setting a deadline of opening day. He didn't want the negotiations to be a distraction during the season,
which is not atypical. That's very normal.
Yeah,
for
Lindor
players
did
to do that.
year.
Yeah.
But now, Judge saying after yesterday's, opening day win against the Red Sox, I'm going to talk to 30 teams this winter. The Yankees will be one of them. As a Yankee fan, that scares me just because he is the face of the franchise. I mean, the offer that was made public yesterday seems fair. The guy's going to be 30 years old in less than 3 weeks. He's not going to get an 8-year deal on the open. Exactly. He's got an injury history. He's not going to get an 8-year deal on the open market. Even if he wins an MVP this year, he's going into his age 31 season. He's not going to get, at that point, a 7-year deal.
Yeah.
Do you pay $30 million a year for Aaron Judge at ages 32, 33?
I'm not investing anything into Aaron Judge, period.
If you're going to have to pay him that much money when he's 37, 38.
Is he even still going to be playing at that point? Because he's so injured all the time that, like, I can't imagine he's going to age well. And I would have taken the deal. I think once you get to a certain point, like the money is like, whatever, the any additional money is sort of extraneous once you get to like a critical level of just insane amount of, Scrooge McDuck money.
There's a lot of zeros there.
There's a lot of zeros. I would have accepted it, especially considering like Judge clearly has ingratiated himself so well with the city of New York and the Yankee franchise and the fan base and everything. I think that he is overestimating the kind of interest such an injury-prone player will get on the open market. The one thing he does have going for him is that he's such a major, one of the major faces of baseball for some reason. And like, I think that kind of name value and that kind of pedigree of performance could get him a big deal for a team like, a team that is as financially flippant as the Dodgers, for instance.
Take that back.
There may not be a fit there, but like a team like that or the Mets. Although if Aaron Judge goes to play for the Mets, those doctors are going to kill him. Like he will die there. But a team.
You're still on about Jacob deGrom from last week,
dude. It's ridiculous. You get a guy who's already injury prone like Aaron Judge, and you put him in a Mets uniform. Are you kidding me?
I mean, before we spiral out here, I mean, I think Chip raises a bunch of good points there, right? Like Aaron Judge is an MVP caliber player year in and year out. Even when he's relatively unhealthy, because he has 50 home run pop.
Yeah.
But is he worth $230 million? Yeah. But is he worth more? Probably not much more. So I don't know what the deal is here in terms of like how short was that offer? I mean, was it the value? Was it the AAV? Was it the number of years? I mean, we just don't really know.
Could the arbitration numbers have something to do with him saying no? Because the Yankees offered him 17 mil, he countered with 21, and now the extension that they offered him included that 17 for this year. Even though he was going to be getting $30.5 million for the next 7 years after 2022, it was still that 17 for this year.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that played a huge part in it. It might have played a little bit that they undervalued him after the year he had last year. But at the same time, when you're making him the second highest paid position player in the sport for a contract of that length, obviously Carlos Correa is making more with the Twins over the next 3 years.
Yeah, that's a youth thing though. Correa's what?
He's also playing a much more valuable position too.
Yeah.
And
Aaron
like he's
Judge
a platinum glove winner. So
came into the league at 25 years old. He's going to be reaching free agency before his age 31 season. This is not a guy like, I mean, Juan Soto and Bryce Harper are the obvious comps here, coming into the league at 18, 19 years old,
How
you know,
wait,
out
how are
of
those the
high
obvious
school.
comps?
They're obvious comps for
like a
for
contrast.
contrast. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, they're obvious contrasts here. The exact opposite of a comp. They come into the league, 19 years old. Juan Soto's hitting the open market this year. He's going to be 25, 26 years old. Carlos Correa hit the open market at 27 years old. Jason Hayward back in the day, he was a big talk, 26 years old. Manny Machado, 27
Oh my
years
God,
old.
remember Jason Hayward?
Yeah. All of these, young studs are hitting the market at that young age. They can get the 8, 9, 10, 12-year contract. The Yankees just signed Garrett Cole to a 9-year contract, premium position, top 3 pitcher in baseball. Then you've got Aaron Judge, who came into the league when these, almost when these guys were hitting their free agency. And now he's not going to be a free agent until he's almost 31 years old.
Yeah, I mean, he might be valuing his
he's betting on himself. Like,
yeah, he's
props
betting
to
on
him.
himself, and that's fine. Like, I don't have an issue with him betting on himself. I just think that he might be overvaluing himself to as the face of baseball, right? Like, yes, he is very well known. He's playing in one of the biggest, if not the biggest, markets in baseball.
Yeah.
And like, he's huge, right? I mean, non-baseball fans probably have heard of Aaron Judge for the most part. And so, that's a big deal. But is it worth $36 million a year for 8 or 9 years at the age of 31? Probably not. So
here's a question for you guys. If Aaron Judge, after the season he had last year, hit the open market this winter, no lockout, no distractions whatsoever. If he hit the open market going into his age 30 season, going into 2022, what would you have offered him? And what do you think he would have taken?
Those are two different numbers. Clearly.
I'm asking two different questions.
Yeah.
I wonder if I would, try to see if I can get him to. It depends on the team I am though. Because like if I'm the Athletics, I'm offering him, a signed Matt Chapman baseball card and a gas a gift card to gas for gas.
We'll give you naming
20%
rights
off
to the new
tickets
we'll
to
give
the,
you new naming rights to the new
store.
stadium when it eventually opens in 2100
in Las Vegas.
In Las Vegas, yeah.
I'll give him a $20 gift card to the team store.
I'd say you can eliminate like half the teams next year.
Yeah.
He says he's going to talk to 30. I mean, he is from California.
Yeah.
He's not going to talk to the A's.
No, but yeah, it's like 50. There are 15 teams. He probably won't.
He's not going to talk to 30 teams.
No.
He's going to talk to the Yankees. He's going to talk to the Mets. He's going to talk to the Dodgers. He might talk to like the Giants or the Padres if they're, still good. I expect they will be. Might talk to the Cubs, might talk to the Red Sox, might talk to the Blue Jays if he gets vaccinated.
Yeah, Jesus.
The Blue Jays, I don't know. Like at some point they have to stop.
The Blue Jays
just
aren't
letting
giving
them
out a
do
contract that Aaron Judge wants to sign.
Yeah, like they don't need a high end bat enough to capitulate to his demands, really. So
No, they could sign 3 or 4 good bullpen arms with the
right, and
money
that's
that they would spend
that's
on
what
Aaron
they really
Judge.
need, if we're being
And that's
honest.
their priority.
Honestly, I think the deal he signs next year is not going to be 7, 8, 9 years long. I think it'll be maybe of the same ilk of Carlos Correa, sort of like a 5 or 6 year deal for
But I was
a
gonna say,
ridiculously high
yeah.
AAV, like a
6
40.
years, 200. That's 33 a year.
I was going to go higher. Like, I think he'd probably have to be wowed by that in order to give up some of the security later on in a career where he thinks he might be playing at towards near the age of 40 or something. So you'd have to give him closer to 40, I think.
Yeah,
Which
like,
I don't know if he could get. I just don't think he could. That's a ridiculous sum of money.
Yeah.
yeah, I think what could end up happening. Like, it depends on the year he has. I mean, like,
Yeah.
there's like if he plays 140 plus games and has a really good year where he performs to his level, I could see a team getting aggressive and giving him sort of a medium term contract that'll take him to like 35, 36 for like you said, an insane amount of money. Like that's something I could see the Mets doing. That's something I could see the Dodgers or a team like that doing. But like if he's willing to accept that, I could also see the Yankees doing it.
Yeah. I don't think the Yankees are going to get a home team discount or whatever.
That's a problem for them, because I think
after
they're
the
gonna-
negotiations that they had this spring, maybe the season changes that approach. But I think, there's a lot going on here. Max, you mentioned the PR by Brian Cashman and company.
Yeah.
At the same time, this could also be the organization doing what many professional sports teams do when they don't reach an agreement on an extension, and that's making the player look like the unreasonable one.
Which
Yeah.
which is exactly what it did, though, right? I mean,
Yeah.
maybe it didn't turn people against Aaron Judge, but it was. I mean, I think
He
it
got the
left
loudest
some.
ovation of anybody at opening day.
Absolutely.
You think
And
you're cool?
yeah, no, Aaron Judge it was louder for him.
Garrett Cole, who yelled at Aaron Boone and the umpires and everybody for the game being delayed by 4 minutes, so Billy Crystal could
That
throw
was
out the
so
first
funny.
pitch.
That was so funny.
was really
in the
funny.
post game, he's like, "Oh, I got lit up because the game was delayed by 4 minutes." Like, come on, like baseball players are so fragile.
You're getting paid $300 million to be a top line ace.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? He settled down after that first inning, and
He really
maybe
did.
this is a good time to transition into some opening day reactions.
Sure.
We've had all 30 teams have played their opener now. Some teams have played 2 games already, like the Mets, 2-0, on pace for 162-0 in a World Series championship for Uncle Steve.
Also on pace for almost 600 hit by pitches.
Oh my God, dude, it's crazy. They hit 2 Mets in the face.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, there is a new ball, so getting used to that is probably a little bit weird, but like,
stop messing with the baseballs. Rob
Yeah.
Manfred, you're not listening to our podcast. I know that. This is our second episode. You kind of don't like us anymore. Anyway, stop messing with the baseballs.
Yeah, like
Just stop.
just do something and make it final, and then we can run from there. Like, just leave it alone.
Tom Brady messed with the football a little bit and everybody had a fit, but they can change the baseball.
They can
all
change
they
the baseballs
want.
during the season.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Like that is ridiculous. At least do it during
It's
the off season.
absurd.
Yeah.
Don't
If I were a
change it.
pitcher, I'd go ballistic. Yeah, I get it, but like, yeah, it's crazy. Like, Lindor got hit directly in, like, thank God he had like the
The
face
chin
guard.
flap.
Yeah.
The chin flap. Alonso got hit almost in the same location as Lindor too. And then a couple guys got hit sort of on the lower half of their bodies, I think, right?
Yeah, James McCann got hit up high too.
Okay.
So there's 3 Mets that got hit sort of, above the chest, which
The
is
bench is cleared too.
yeah. But dude, Buck Showalter was leading the cavalry out of the dugout.
I think Buck Showalter and Max Scherzer, those personality types, are exactly what the Mets needed.
It's gonna be great. Yeah.
Yeah. The
That
problem,
team,
like, the problem is just health.
Chip's saying the Braves are going to win the division. Max and I, we're still on the same page. The Mets, on paper, and we're still day 2 or 3 of the season, we're still looking at on paper, the Mets are the best team in that division.
Yeah, but they're the Mets.
That is fair. But I think that obviously the next closest team is Atlanta, and I'm obviously not going to bet against Atlanta, but I do think that on paper is really the only thing we had when we made those predictions. And of course, on paper, Jacob deGrom, his arm was falling off, and
Yeah.
as Chip would say, he's dead.
Yeah, he's
Yeah, enough for the 3 of us to pass on DeGrom in our fantasy draft.
Seriously.
Yeah, I know. That was hard for me. Like the thing is the Braves are missing Acuna for like a month.
While. Yeah.
So that's like 20 games. That's
They have Albies, they have Matt
get it.
Olson,
I
they
get
have
it, but,
Austin
like,
Riley.
I get it, but there's like a bunch of really good players and no like star, and I don't think their pitching is so good that like they don't need to lean on their lineup for a fair amount of production. But ultimately, I don't think it's gonna make that much of a difference because it kind of cancels out with the Mets not having Jacob deGrom until forever. So, like, I mean, the main problem with the Mets and relying on deGrom at this point is that like every single time he pitches, there is some issue. So, I think a little bit of a trajectory analysis would say that like, who's to say that when he comes back, it's he's not going to go down again. And I think that like the Mets have to be able to, prepare for that and be willing to sort of accept
They
that.
did prepare for that. They signed Max Scherzer. They
They
traded
did,
for Chris Bassett.
They did.
Tyler McGill
prepare.
started opening day.
Tyler McGill is awesome. I believe in Tyler
Oh,
McGill.
his name's wrong though.
Yeah, his name's-
Tyler McGill.
Yeah, he's a good player though. Like, I mean, he's got like I've always sort of thought of him eventually as like a Luke Hochevar type swing reliever. That is like
Luke Hochevar.
Yeah, dude, he was a dog for the Royals when they were like a contender.
For that
like
2-year window when they went to 2 World Series
Yeah,
and
dude,
sucked on either end of it.
Yeah, but do you remember how good Luke Hochevar was during those runs?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sort of stuck with me. But like, I think that that's kind of Tyler McGill's future. But like, he's a serviceable, more than serviceable 5th starter. But like, yeah, the Mets,
it's always easier to go from a starter to a swing guy reliever type, long reliever, someone who can fill, 3-4 innings in, say you need someone to come in the 3rd inning of a playoff game, get you to the back end relievers. That reminds me of something that the Red Sox did yesterday. Garrett Whitlock threw 3 innings.
Oh, I like him.
They're trying to make him a starter at some point, is my understanding.
Yeah.
Which, going from a reliever to a starter does not always work.
No, but I will say part of that transition was because he's coming off of Tommy John. He was an unknown quantity last
He's
year.
a full year removed from Tommy John.
Now I think they're just trying to stretch him out and get him some innings. So he won't become a closer. Like I know a lot of people in the sort of Red Sox fandom kind of want to see, because the Red Sox don't really have a top line closer. There's not really
He is their best reliever. He should be the closer.
He should be the closer, but I get the need. He's a young guy. And so, why not try him out as a starter at some point, which I think we'll probably see him make a couple of starts this year. And then
maybe as
he
an
might
opener.
convert. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And then maybe start to make more full-time starts and actually be a piece of the rotation next year. But this is kind of like the bridge year for
Well,
him.
that's what the Yankees did with Nestor Cortez last year.
Yeah.
He was a bullpen guy. He started, opening out of necessity, and then he started opening with 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 innings. And now, he's a big part of your rotation in 2022.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to start game 4 or 5 yet. They haven't announced yet. He had Severino and then Jordan Montgomery to finish up the series against the Red Sox. But Nestor Cortez, the exception that proves the rule. I don't think that moving a player from the bullpen to the rotation is a smart idea in any sense.
I think mid-season that's tough to do. So I like your idea of an opener for guys like that. Just get their feet wet. Sort of
Ryan
get them in.
Stanek.
Yeah, I mean, get them used to the cadence of every 5 days, or at least getting prepped for actually starting the game with clean innings instead of with traffic on the bases.
But is Garrett Whitlock, whether he's the opener or maybe like a 3-4 inning bulk guy after an opener, is he more valuable doing that every 5 days, or is he more valuable pitching 4 or 5 times a week in your bullpen in high leverage situations, 7th, 8th inning?
I think right now it's that one. It's the latter. It's pitching in high leverage situations until the Red Sox shore up the back end of their bullpen, which I don't even know if they're going to do. So if they don't do that, then I would like to see them stay in the high leverage situations, 7, 8, 9. But yeah, I think it's inevitable that he will start some games.
Yeah. I think the bottom line here is that Alex Cora belongs in jail. Anyway, we had 4 walk-offs on opening day.
Yep.
That's pretty fun. None more wild than what happened in the Tigers White Sox game.
Yeah,
What was that about? Instant replay.
It's a fun series, actually.
Yeah.
Like, that's another thing. Lucas Giolito going down. It's not
Yeah.
great. Not great,
Nope.
Bob.
Not great, Bob.
Well, he is supposed Tony
2
Lewis
starts.
He's only supposed to miss 2 starts, which
2 starts.
I picked him in fantasy, so I kind of need him, but like I can live with that. Yeah, but like he was cruising.
This is a guy who comes out of his
So
fantasy
good.
draft saying, I don't really care about the regular season. I know I'm going to the playoffs because everyone else is trash.
When have I said that? That's not why I'm going to the playoffs. I go to the playoffs because I'm so good at this, which is
Fair.
weird because like of all the things to be good at, this is probably not the best one, but I'm super good at it.
You are.
Yeah, but like, that's that is why I took pitching picks 2 and 3. But like he looked so good. Like I was watching the game in class, and
We've all done it. Don't.
yeah,
I understand that. We've done that.
he looked so sharp. Like all of his stuff was. I think he generated like 9 swing and misses in his first like 30 pitches, or something like that. I saw that on Twitter. I couldn't find the tweet again, but like he was cruising, and they with Lance Lynn out, like they need him back and they need him to pitch at a elite level, or else all of a sudden they have rotation problems, which I can't imagine we expected going in.
Well, Kopech's going to start, right? And they got
Yeah.
Dylan Cease, who is,
Yeah,
a
but, like,
mid-rotation
Yeah,
guy.
but having
not-
Lynn and
it's-
Giolito both out is
Yeah.
that's big, especially
what you
in
want.
a division that they were supposed to win pretty handily.
I think
some
with that
up-and-coming
offense and
guys.
that bullpen, they can still cruise to the division title.
Well, yeah.
Even if Giolito
Yeah.
misses a month,
No,
God forbid.
I'm just saying this is gonna slow them down a little bit, and it might put some pressure on some of their younger guys, and they might not live up to some of the expectations or perform how they want to, and that they might push, and that can lead to a whole host of other problems. So
Domino effect. I see
to-
what you're saying.
yeah,
So, yeah. Short spring is going to be a huge factor for injuries early on.
Mhm.
You got guys recovering from off-season injuries. Fernando Tatis Jr., who I picked in our fantasy draft. Motorcycle, whatever happened. Don't get on a motorcycle again. it's like Madison Bumgarner with the dirt bike a few years ago.
Yoenis Cespedes with the wild boar.
Yeah, like add something into Tatis's contract that says you can't do shit like that anymore, because he's the face of the franchise. He's gonna be a superstar for a long time. I mean, if he doesn't do stuff like that, and get injured again, but
Yeah,
he can't be doing that.
I don't know. The whole lockout thing going into the short spring and then deciding to start the season a week late instead of letting them have a full spring, which honestly I probably would have been okay with starting the season, 2 weeks from now.
Yeah. When would that push the playoffs back to, though? And I would assume that would compete with football, and that is something that baseball probably doesn't
want to do. Yeah.
Yeah, no, like I will never watch a baseball game over a football game unless the Mets are in the World Series.
That's fair, to each his own.
Yeah, but
I love football. That's like I love football way more than the average person.
Right. But like, I don't know, the whole shortened spring thing. Garrett Cole only threw 68 pitches on opening day because he only had 2 starts in spring training. The start to the season, probably the whole month of April, if not longer, is going to be impacted by these guys not being fully built up, players and pitchers.
I'm more worried about the pitchers than anything than the position players. Like they're special. They're essentially specialists. They need their time. They're creatures of habit. So it's going to be weird for them for a while until they get a couple of starts under their belt. They're playing at game speed is so much different than even spring training games. And you don't really get that sense unless you're a baseball insider, you've played baseball, but there's such a difference between practice game, like scrimmages and non-competitive games, and going out there and shoving for 6 innings on opening day, like Red Sox Yankees, right? It's the rivalry, and putting that on Garrett Cole, Nathan Eovaldi, all the pitchers that came out of the bullpen on opening day in what honestly felt like a playoff environment. That's huge pressure on day one after a shortened spring. It'd be much different if that was opening day and they had 6 weeks to build out their arms and the rest of the rosters.
Yeah. I think the benefits of a full spring, and obviously in 2020, which is a good comp, me using comp correctly here, they settled on the design of the season in early July, and 3 weeks later, they were playing big league games. Your season opened last week of July. So I think in that sense, you were going into a shortened season. You're going to play the full 162 this year. I think guys could go a little bit harder earlier on. Guys like Garrett Cole going out on opening day when it's, the last week of July and not the first week of April, you're feeling a little bit looser just because of the weather and the time of the year. But also when you only have to play a 60-game sprint and then the playoffs, ideally playoffs for all the hopeful teams, you can go a little bit harder. And this year you just can't, because it is the marathon. It is the full 162.
And also in 2020, weren't they allowed to be in contact with the teams?
Yeah, I mean, they were using facilities.
So,
they were staying loose.
Yeah, so that also, I
But
think, is
also-
a big differentiator, right? Because some guys might have either pushed too hard in the offseason or not really done enough. And teams couldn't know that because they weren't able to be in contact with them because of the lockout.
Yeah, and other guys, played for the Mets, and that's super dangerous. So,
Playing for the Mets is a dangerous job.
It's a curse unto itself.
The existence of the Mets is a walking OSHA violation. Like we need to regulate the Mets.
Regulate them. They just signed Max Scherzer to a $40 million a year contract.
That's
And
not my
he
problem.
had a
My problem
tightened hamstring and went 6 innings on day 2.
The guy, he was throwing 6 innings in relief in spring training.
I don't know. That was crazy.
Yeah.
That game, DeGrom went 3, Scherzer went 6.
They
And then
struck out 12.
Then DeGrom turned to dust.
Yeah, well,
Guys, Chip has watched the MCU. Just
I
wanted you to
have.
know that.
I've
yeah.
officially caught up.
he's officially caught up. He's gonna watch Moon Knight next Wednesday morning.
Yeah. Well, I'm watching Moon Knight Wednesday night with some people. But
Oh, excuse me.
you want to come?
Maybe. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I am gonna be up there on Wednesday,
I'm
so
watching
maybe.
with Isaac.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. None of the viewers know who Isaac is. He's our buddy.
He's our buddy. He's a good guy.
Yeah, cool guy. Does
so-
not watch baseball, I don't think.
So yeah, what do you guys think is the big thing to watch for other than pitcher health, just over the next few weeks?
I think one really, really, really big thing to watch, like you said, obviously pitcher health, I think is the biggest one. But I think, this may be incorrect, but I'm sort of getting a sense that people are playing a little bit more small ball over the first, and maybe this is just because I'm watching the Mets and that's the direction they've gone. But like, I feel like, I feel like we're going to start to see a little bit more base stealing and a little bit more, inside the park hitting. Just call it a hunch, but like, the Mets are doing it. There are, so many, like, the thing is, so many of these young, talented players in baseball, and there are so many of them right now.
Yeah.
We are so lucky to, to have all these star players. They're such great athletes. So I think that there is the potential for a lot more base stealing because of just how freakishly athletic these young players are. Guys like Ronald Acuna, big base stealer.
Starling Marte.
Yeah, Starling Marte is not young, but like,
He's still a base stealer. He led the American League last year, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, he's stole like
Or
50 bases last
the
year.
majors. 'cause
Yeah,
he was-
he stole 1 million bases last year. But like, I don't know. I feel like we are at an age where athletes are getting so much more freakishly athletic that like I think we could see a resurgence in base stealing. And I hope so because I love stealing. I love base stealing. I think it's so cool.
It's so much fun.
It's awesome.
It
Additionally,
is a bit
bases
more
are bigger.
exciting brand of baseball. Play like that combination of power and situational hitting is, I think, what I'm looking for in the game too. Right, like obviously everybody loves a 400-foot bomb to straightaway center.
Chicks
right,
dig the
like,
long ball.
that's awesome, and I'm not going to deny that. And that's not going to go away because we have guys like Giancarlo Stanton, you've got Aaron Judge, you've got these massive dudes that can just push the ball out of ballparks like it's nobody's business. But, having lineups that are constructed around that, as well as, moving a runner over or being able to lay down a sacrifice bunt or, do the small stuff, steal a couple of bags, like that's great baseball because it means that something is always happening. And it's one of the big complaints that some casual fans have about the game right now is that nothing happens. Lots of strikeouts, lots of walks, lots of
true
empty
outcomes.
space. Yeah, lots of 3 true outcome stuff. And I get that. Obviously, I love baseball, so I'm not complaining about that. But it would be nice to see sort of a more holistic game. I think, Chip, you're right that these young guys are just freaks of nature athletically. Even some of the middling actual baseball players
Right.
are ridiculous athletes. They might not be superstars in baseball, but they are so athletic and can do so many different things. And it'd be nice to see that skill set sort of come out.
Yeah, the stolen base is one of the most exciting plays in baseball. Like, the rush of the catcher, getting it and rushing the ball down to second. And the suspense of the tag, it's like a play at the plate almost. And it's, there's also the gamesmanship. I know people hate when the pitcher throws over, but there's also the
Oh, it's the mental
gamesmanship.
side of it entirely. You got to get in the
Yeah.
pitcher's head.
I love it.
Yeah, it's so awesome.
Dancing,
And-
I go back to Dellin Betances, who just signed with the Dodgers, trying to make a comeback. He was
God, he did?
just,
Jesus.
That's legend Dylan Betances.
he is just, and I love Dellin. I loved him with the Yankees. It's just terrible when you get a guy on third base. Talk about first base, second base. He was any other pitcher. But when you got a guy dancing off of third base, the game would slow to a crawl because the guy would always be in Dellen's head. And that's part of the fun of watching the game, is seeing the fans getting into it at the ballpark, seeing the pitcher stepping off, the guy dancing, 20, 30 feet down the baseline. It's exciting. It adds to the entertainment value of the game.
Big time.
When you've got guys that can steal bases, guys that can get in pitchers' heads, guys that can run, guys that can make things happen other than the three true outcomes, which I think you guys are absolutely right. Baseball needs more of that.
No, absolutely. And I think part of the beauty of baseball is that everybody at all times has a job to do. Whether you're on the bench, whether you're at the plate, whether you're in the field, everybody is doing something all the time. And it's some of those things that don't get picked up by casual fans. But when you see a pitcher with a runner on third, a right-handed pitcher with a runner on third step off, that means that the runner did his job. And that's really cool to see. That's like a very little thing that matters so much more than you could even, you can't really calculate that, because it means that you're getting inside the guy's head. It means that he's distracted by you. And it means that his next pitch might get grooved down the middle. And then instead of one run, you score two.
Right.
Because the guy pops one over the fence. Like, that's fantastic. It is the domino effect. There's a lot of things that go into this game.
Max is just launching an absolute assault against casual fans right now.
Yeah, I mean, partly because, I know Manfred wants to speed up the pace of the game, but
get rid of the DH. That'll speed up the pace. Less offense.
Fine, I don't care how we do it, but one of the things that I firmly believe, and I've grown up believing, is that you always hear, as a player growing up, as a fan, you always hear, there's no clock on this thing. It's quoted in Moneyball. It was quoted by my coaches growing up. And I hear it in the way that major leaguers talk about the game right now. There's no clock on the game. There is, kind of, with the pitch clock, but
it's never enforced.
It almost never comes in play. And so there effectively is no clock on baseball. And I love that.
It's the best part of the game.
It is the best part of the game. The psychological impact that a base runner can have on a pitcher, it's so small and insignificant in terms of,
it's incomparable.
It's amazing. And I love it.
Yeah. My dad used to say that to me all the time. Like, there's no clock in baseball. There's no clock in baseball. And like, yeah, it just, baseball happens as it happens. Like, there's no, I find that endearing. I think that's something you kind of have to love baseball to really truly appreciate. But like, I would rather a slightly slower game with more gamesmanship than a longer game, with more gamesmanship than a shorter game that is static.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's just, man, that's when people call baseball boring. Like, they're talking about, these static games where nothing happens. Besides, and look, I love a home run, but like, home runs, strikeouts, walks.
But when you got a guy going first to third, second to home.
Yeah. Stolen, like I'm going to say this forever. Stolen bases are awesome. They're sick. Like, you get this guy, getting off first, and you see him, on when they adjust the camera to show first, so you see him take off, and then you see the catcher like pop up and rip the ball down to second. Come on, that's awesome. Like, that's one of the reasons I'm so excited about Starling Marte on the Mets, because now they have a guy that can do that. And like,
Brandon Nimmo wasn't doing it for you?
No, he stole like 15 bases a year. Like,
but all it takes is one guy, and that's what's so amazing about it, is that it only takes one speedster on your team that can swipe 20 to 30 bags, and it doesn't need to be 50, right? It can just be 20, 30, but put him in the middle of your lineup. If he can get on base or the top of the lineup, that's a difference maker. You can set that, you can, like, they're table setters. That's the term, table setter. You can, exactly. You can manufacture a run.
You make runs. And look, there are so many, 2-run games, 1-run games that are, it's a game of slim margins, and you can't, like, I don't know, I kind of sound like a boomer saying this. It's just such a lost art.
But I agree with you. I don't think you're
Yeah.
a boomer for saying that. I think you're just a fan of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you get a game like yesterday's, opening day's Yankees Red Sox game.
Awesome game.
Red Sox jump out to a lead in the first inning.
Awesome
Yankees
game.
answer back in the bottom of the first. They trade some zeros, a couple more runs on the board. Yanks come back a couple of times. You get into the nitty gritty of the game. You got guys, not necessarily guys getting on the move on the base paths, but you've got an engaging, exciting game. Lead changes from a tie. The Red Sox just kept taking leads. But you've got a really exciting game. And then you get the Manfred man, the bullshit base runner, whatever you want to call it, alliteratively.
Manfred man.
Michael K called it that on the broadcast yesterday.
Michael K is not a good announcer, but that's funny.
Disagree.
Like,
We love you,
"Ugh,
Michael."
See ya. Like, all right, relax.
Anyway, you get the base runner come in extra innings, and you got a tie game that's now suddenly corrupted, and it's over. They went to an 11th inning because each team scored the ghost runner in the 10th, but it's over. And some of the best nights of my childhood and young adulthood, Yankees Red Sox going 18, 19
I
innings,
like long games like
Hell
that.
yeah.
trading,
Give me a
zeros on the
7-hour
scoreboard.
game. Give me a 7-hour game
it's not
over
like these-
one.
Even a
yeah.
Yankees Red Sox game, 9 innings that goes 4 hours is
That's
so much
awesome.
fun to watch. Then you get an extra inning game, no ghost runner, and it goes 15, 16, 17 innings. 7 o'clock game goes until 12:30 in the morning. I love that. I live for that.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
you know what
And
we
I'm
need?
so
We need
excited to
less
get rid of that
baseball.
bullshit base runner next year.
It's crazy.
Why is it for the full season too? Like if you're
Get rid of
worried
it at the
about
break.
injuries, yeah, I thank you. Or
Get rid
even
of it
the
at the
first
break.
month and a half, the first month or 2 months, get rid of it.
I just get rid of it before the season. Like you can stop it. at any
Agreed.
time. Who cares?
Yeah.
It's not in the CBA.
No, they had to agree to it outside of the CBA. That
It's
was
a
it came
separate
down
agreement
late.
for the season,
Yeah, it came down late.
which is disappointing, but I'm really
Yeah.
glad it's not permanent.
What if we compromised and made it so that the player on second has to wear a jersey that says Manfred on the back?
I think that would just inflate the guy's ego.
Oh, that would be so funny.
Or any game that is won by the Manfred rule counts as a win. But then if it comes
It
down
feels
to
cheap though.
it is cheap, and
Props. I got to toss some props to the San Francisco Giants yesterday. World Champs 2012, 10th anniversary. Props to the Giants on opening day for not winning the game with the ghost runner. Darren Ruff was on first base and scored the game-winning run all the way from first base on Austin Slater's double.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how
Giants
it should
won the
be
game
done.
in extra innings. I wasn't watching the game. The situation with the ghost runner, I didn't see how it played out before that. But you won the game through an organic-ish rally. I'm of a point of view when if my team is, like, say it's a tie game and my team's up in the bottom of the 10th, I am rooting for my team's ghost runner to get picked off or caught stealing or something so that my team can win the game organically. Because losses with the extra inning base runner are enraging. Wins
they're bad.
feel cheap. It's like, oh, leadoff guy hit a base hit. Oh, the game's over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your leadoff RBI single.
Leadoff 2-run home run.
Yeah.
That'd
It
be
just
fine.
feels wrong.
I mean, if the game was tied
Yeah,
and it was
home
like
run.
a 2-run home run, that's fine. But
because that would have been a
Yeah.
walk-off home run without the
Yeah.
base runner.
yeah,
That's fair. All right, we've rambled on long enough.
yeah, we don't like the ghost runner, in case you couldn't tell.
Yeah, and the Mets,
I
Mets
don't
would
really
kill
like
Aaron
goats in
Judge.
general, actually. So
What?
How do you
Yeah.
feel about ghouls?
ghouls, I love ghouls. They're
What
one of
about
my likes,
goblins?
along with people. They're along with magnets. This
Goblins. What
evil
about
news.
green goblins?
Oh my god, dude, Green Goblins. I rewatched Spider-Man No Way Home the other day. Oh my god, I think that was Willem Dafoe's performance in that movie is better than it was in the first one.
I agree.
I 100% agree.
Much more was asked of him, and he was just, oh my god, he
He delivered.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like he's like, I've said this so many times to people, but like every Joker that isn't Heath Ledger after Heath Ledger is a disappointment to me, except if it were played by Willem Dafoe. Then it would be amazing.
Well, Willem
then,
Dafoe, when he hosted SNL earlier this year, he said in his monologue, people come up to him all the time and say, you know what role you'd be perfect for? It's the Joker. And, that's, he made a joke of it saying, like, it's always fun when people come up to you and say you'd be best to play a sociopath.
Well, you've already done it so many
But,
times.
like, I would love to see, like, if Willem Dafoe had starred, and we're getting off topic here at the end, but if Willem Dafoe had starred in Joker, Joaquin Phoenix did a great job, won the Oscar for it. But if Willem Dafoe
but
had starred in that
that's not really
movie,
Joker. That's he played Arthur Fleck. He didn't really play the Joker. Like the whole thing is that like he doesn't really become the Joker until the end when he says, "I'm gonna become the Joker," which is a little ham-fisted. But like, dude, imagine
It's a
Willem
DC
Dafoe
movie.
as the Joker. Like, he's the only person that could do a good job. It's like he's the only one left, I think, in the world who can play the Joker for real and actually really do it after Heath Ledger.
Well, we'll see. There's a lot of good actors out there. So, and
Yeah, but
they're not going to get rid of the
one.
Joker. The Joker's always going to be there. So
I
there's
know,
going to be plenty of opportunities for
it's
actors to
Barry
prove you
Kogan's
wrong.
turn right now, though. So we're gonna see
No,
how that
it's
plays
not.
out.
I don't care. I want Willem. I don't want
Right.
the guy from it. I don't want like the fifth most important Eternal to play the Joker after Heath Ledger. Are you kidding me? Give me Willem.
All right. We will see you for the next episode of Shout at the Plate sometime next week. Have a good one, everyone.
Bye.